So, what if your best friend could be your best hire? For most entrepreneurs, the advice is clear: never mix friendship with business. But what if that's the wrong play? In this conversation, we're challenging leadership myths that you have been taught, like why honesty and humility might be your company's strongest recruiting tools, and how even respect, when even you disagree, can transform the workplace culture and retention. So, if you're ready to build a business that is more profitable, more enjoyable, and filled with people that you actually want to work with, this episode of Profit with a Plan is for you. Hey, entrepreneurs, are you working too hard for too little profit? Well, welcome to Profit with a Plan podcast, where we help you scale smarter, increase profitability, and build a business that's worth more, whether you keep it or sell it. My name is Marcia Riner. I'm a business growth strategist and the profit booster behind Infinite Profit. I've helped countless entrepreneurs to turn their businesses into highly profitable and sale-ready assets so they can enjoy more income now and a bigger payday later on. So join me for practical strategies, expert insights, and proven steps that help your business become more profitable, more valuable, and built to last. By the way, today's episode is sponsored by Infinite Profit, where we don't just talk profit, we deliver it. And before we dive in, I've got something special for you. And I've been thinking a lot that if you're a business owner who's tired of overcomplicated, overpriced marketing strategies that just don't deliver, then listen up. What if there was a simple and affordable way to market your business that actually works? Well, the Profit Booster Marketing Hub gives you the templates and automation and tools to capture leads, nurture them, and close more sales without the tech headaches. So go see it in action at profitbooster.biz. All right, let's jump into today's episode. I am joined by Marcylle Combs, a seasoned entrepreneur, leadership expert, speaker, and author. Marcylle has spent more than 30 years building and leading healthcare companies that grew into multi-million-dollar enterprises with over 1,200 employees and 12 locations. After selling that business, she went on to start 3 more companies where she's now focused on consulting, coaching, speaking, and investing. She is also the author of Never Hire Your Friends, a book with real stories and lessons on leading with honesty, humility, and honor. Marcylle believes in leadership isn't a position, it's a choice. And she's passionate about helping others create workplaces where people love to show up. Marcylle, welcome to Profit with a Plan podcast. I'm excited to have you on today.
Thank you, Marcia. So nice to be here and to have a chance to visit with you and the audience.
Oh, cool. So, I always like to start with this question because, many of us kind of evolve or fell into this position on here. So, how did you get into HR and hiring and having that leadership position where you even created a book about it?
There's a statement you falling forward, and so I think I think that might really be me is falling forward. I'm a nurse by background, and I got into a business because I fell in love with the space with home health and hospice, and
Mm,
grew that business, and just truly began to think about who I wanted to work with because we
mm,
spend so much of our lives, working and being in a workplace, whether it's remote or whether it's, some kind of hybrid or if it's in the office. And life is too short to just spend it with people you can just tolerate. So through that, I developed a philosophy, and over the years, just lived and breathed and managed with that philosophy. And it's the name of the book is called Never Hire Your Friends, but the never is crossed out. So it basically means always hire your friends or become friends with those that you do hire.
I love that philosophy. And first of all, let me say thank you for being in the hospice space. My mom went through that for a good 5 long years, and I never could have done it without, the kind of people that help in that space. So from my heart, thank you.
No,
Um,
you're
but with that in mind, it's so funny. There's always the work husband or the work wife, the spouse that we spend so much time with because we're and the friends that we have in that workspace because we do. We spend, a majority of our waking day working and creating and being in that space that it makes better sense to be with people that you enjoy than that one
right.
that those five that we can all remember that we just hated, which is terrible. So, how does one find spaces? Is it about culture or is it really truly hiring somebody that you can get along with first?
Well, I really think it's about both. It's a whole combination of how you treat others and how you want to be treated yourself. In this day and age, we think we've evolved, and yet, as leaders, sometimes we fall short because the easier thing is to put up a wall and not to socialize, not to share
I'm
anything.
the boss. Yeah.
I'm the boss. You do as I say, but don't ask me any personal questions whatsoever because, frankly, sometimes leaders do use that against them. And
Mm,
that's why you mentioned it really, Marcia. It's the honesty um, and honoring others that you have to be sure that you are a person who can be trustworthy so
mm,
that other people feel comfortable being transparent with you. I always say I hate gossip, and I have always led because of my field. Most nurses are women, like 85, 90%. And because my business had to do mostly with providing nurses or other skilled caretakers in the home, I've led a lot of women. And I can honestly say, if you want to gossip over some great, fabulous news, that's great. But to gossip or share information that's personal or hurtful. I just never had any tolerance for that. And I try to hold, I'm not saying I am without blame ever, but I will say that kind of thing can eat up your workplace and certainly corrode any hope of having friendships at work.
mm, Good point. And nobody wants their dirty laundry in there or
Right.
anybody else's dirty laundry out there because I
Right.
think that, in business, the goal is to A, number one, make a profit, and B, number two, is to bring on a client, a customer, right?
Right.
So if you're doing that, if you're talking about other stuff, right, water cooler stuff, right, then you're
Right.
not doing one of those two things.
Right.
Now, it doesn't mean you can't be friends and while you're servicing and be friends with your customers, and you learn about their family and their needs so you can make connections and follow your theory of trust and respect, right? But I think there's a line. You're right. Nobody wants to hear the dirty stuff.
I really think it's so funny. Just today, a guy that I worked with, he rents suite spaces at the American Airlines Center here in Dallas, and I worked with him 25 years ago, literally.
Wow.
And today, I was going to a concert by she's not a really well-known comedian, but a comedian, and I just thought, I wonder if he has a suite there and truly still had his contact. I mean, in an hour, because and truly, I've only met him face to face once, but I worked with him. Very nice guy, immediately responsive, but someone that I think has been trustworthy, has been honest. If I say I can't spend this much money here, he's not going to say, "Oh, well, I don't want to talk to you." Just, answering me quickly and efficiently. And really, I would say he's definitely a friend of mine because you have that relationship. And I also, you mentioned the profit parse. And of course, I know that this is your podcast and, of course, your wonderful business. Um, but I think that if you have a camaraderie at work, and I've always worked in service organizations, so
Mm-hmm.
our product is our people. We
Mm-hmm.
don't make widgets. Our product is our people, and the happier they are and the more collaborative they are, the the better they're going to treat your, in our case, patients or clients, or the more people are going to look at our culture and say, what's really different about you guys? And I want to do business with you because
Yeah.
I know if you treat your employees that way, you're going to treat us even better. And
Yes.
that's where the bottom line comes in.
Love it. Love it. And so true. I believe that culture's one of those fuzzy areas, right? It's
Right.
not really the woo-woo space at all, but it's not really the technical of the widget or the service and the
Right.
deliverable and the thing and all that stuff. It's the air in between. And if that air is toxic or unhappy, then the production level goes dramatically down. But when people truly enjoy the time that they're spending working, they do more. They get it done quicker and they are happier in it, which relates to, it's like that rock hits the water and all the ripples go out. And that's
Right.
where I think that culture gets overlooked. And it's not one of my specialties, but through the podcast and my collaborations with other companies and professionals, I'm really finding that that is truly a valuable piece to
Mm.
the company as a whole and even your future sale of that company if you've got a good culture. And I think it starts with the people and the way you treat them.
Oh, the thing is, two things that you can't instantaneously change are culture and morale.
Mm.
If you're, and I always give this example, and I'm really not a sports person, but my family is, and I had an
Well, that's the
opportunity to
Texas roots, right?
that's right, football, and we're Friday Night Lights, right? But I went to the Olympics last year in Paris. It was a crazy series of events. But it's not, and this is what people need to hear. You don't have to be 10, 20, 30% better than the competition. Those Olympic athletes, they might be 1% better. So
Right.
really, it takes so little to be above average, so little to be above average. And how we act, how we talk, there's nothing worse than a salesperson who I went to a baby shower with someone I didn't really even know. She knew me. And she started to trash the company she was working for, trash the leaders, trash the morale, trash and she's doing big time sales for them.
Mm.
I mean, if you have an employee, which you cannot, how can you control what someone says at a social gathering off work? You really cannot. The
No, but it shows their true character.
Oh, but it also shows what will end up being your profit because I met her again in another social setting. She's working at a new company. This was fast forward 2 years, trashing the new company. And so I thought to myself, I would never hire you.
Mm-mm.
One, two, I wouldn't use either one of these companies because, so you
And
and
that
your
might not
culture,
even be true, but
it
because
might not be
she set
true.
up the perception that this is a terrible place to work for,
Right,
and she
right.
proved it by leaving, whether on her own devices or their device.
Or someone
That
else's.
yeah, that
Right.
she's and I think that's the funny thing about if we go back to that rumors, that we started
Mhm.
in the negative language, you know, um bad press and bad conversation and bad energy plays back on the company that you work for.
Right.
So
Right.
if you say that, oh, well, it wasn't necessarily that their product was bad, but she didn't like this and she didn't like that, and she didn't like the way they treated her, and she didn't think she was being treated fair or whatever it is,
Right.
that comes like she's not only damaging herself, but she's damaging the company.
That's right. And that's where that soft part you talked about
Mhm.
with culture, there's where the soft part becomes really hard,
Mm,
or the profit becomes less, or who wants to buy a company that, you
mm,
know, is not positively thought of.
mm.
Even if they're showing a great bottom line. We do a lot of due diligence in the company I work with or I own now.
Yeah, the
And
investments that
one
you make.
Right, and one of the things that we get asked by private equity is, "Marcylle, would you buy this company?" Well, that's a good question, and part of that is not just the bottom line, because sometimes you can make the bottom line look good, but the company has got some major issues that may go south on you.
Mm.
Um, so
And I
it's
think when
it's
you're
an
buying
interesting
when you're buying the company, you're buying the people too. So you
place.
want the people that feel like they gel together and they're creative together and they get things done together rather than siloed environments and, competition and anger and negative feelings and those kind of things that occur when you don't like people you work with. To
Right,
kind of bring us
right,
full circle back to the
for
idea
sure.
of liking the person that you sit next to and you spend 8 to 10 hours a day times five, or some of us 6 or 7, right? You gotta like that. And I think that projects that rock in the water, that ripple effect that goes out in so many different ways. Are your podcast guest appearances leading to real business, or are you just hoping that listeners will take action? With the Profit Booster Podcast Monetization Hub, we turn your interviews into lead generating machines so that you capture, nurture, and convert listeners into paying clients. So stop leaving money on the table and get started today at profitboosterpod.com. It
Well,
really
and I think, um, if you have an environment that's positive, then the goal is to have fun. And the truth is, it's a lot more fun to grow and, expand and make a good bottom line than it is to cut down, cut back, cut out, have a layoff, have a layoff, have a
Mhm.
layoff. Now, sometimes you can't. There's no way
Sometimes
to
it's
prevent,
necessary.
but if you're having fun and you're reaching out and your team is with you, if they're trying to get a contract and everybody is on board with that,
Exactly.
there's nothing more fun. Now, again, you can tell I'm competitive. I said I'm not athlete, but I am competitive. Then there's nothing more fun than setting this goal and reaching this goal. Nothing more
As a
fun. I mean, to
team,
me,
as a
yeah,
team,
say
we did
team.
it
You're
together.
right.
We moved that gigantic boulder up the
Right.
hill together, which in reality, no business that is successful and growing has ever been one person. It's always had multiple people doing multiple things to do it.
Right.
And so yeah, the people you hire are incredibly important. So let's kind of circle here. And when we're talking about the people we're hiring, how do we find them and do the right thing? Because you could be pretty and nice, and we know you're on your best behavior the first interviews and first 30 days before the honeymoon's over and the horns pop out, right?
Right. Right. The funny thing is, and I'll give them a little plug real quick here. And this is really years ago now, but the original owner of Zappos,
You should come back.
his original setup was at 6 months, they would pay you to leave. They would basically offer you $1 to leave the company because his whole statement was, and I had the opportunity to meet him long ago, but was if you want to be here, then I can't pay you to leave. You're going to want to be here so bad that no matter what I offer you, you will want to stay.
Mm,
And so I didn't never really do that, but I can say I work in healthcare, so there's been a shortage or a crisis in hiring staff forever. Your number one goal is to become the employer of choice in the area. And that takes time and that takes leadership. But the truth is, we get on the holy world of the internet, you put a job offering out there, you get 1,000. This is what I tell young people. If you're listening today, don't just throw your resume out there in the bunch. You got to make an email. You got to find the contact. You need to talk to anyone you know who might know someone who knows someone, because through
that's
that
it.
maze of people, and you are right, if they are the very best they can be on their resume, and my gosh, we have AI now, so you have no excuse for not doing a great resume. It's all the free tools or in the interview. Now, granted, some people don't interview well, but I'm always me personally, and I guess we had around 700 or 800 employees at one time. A
Yikes.
service organization, you have to hire a lot of people. Have I made some mistakes? Yes. But the more you can know, the more you can ask questions, of course, that are legal, but ask questions that ask that person to think, not just to answer, but to think. Give them a scenario. What would you do if these things happened? So otherwise, you don't know if they can, how would you problem solve a problem?
Yeah. I know
You know,
that's a
you
huge problem in hiring people because they think, oh, I've got a skill set, but the generation that's growing up now, they don't have personal skills, you know.
right,
It's all done
right.
on the computer and the internet. And I look at my son and daughter and see that, my daughter's better, but my son is like he's just very difficult in his personal skills. But yeah, you have to find the right people that can solve and do the problems and navigate
And
with
talk to
with
people.
with the external and internal people that they're working
Right,
with, right?
right. I always say you have internal customers, which are your employees, and external customers, which are the people paying you.
Yes.
Um, so you have to have a relationship with both.
I love it. I love it. So there's no easy answer to hiring those. But I think that when you're looking at this kind of thing and you're thinking, what kind of person are you? I can teach most people a skill, right?
Right.
But I can't teach you to be a good person. That's something that's natural with you and especially in the healthcare space where you want them to be caring individuals that are very detail oriented, but they can have empathy and engagement and hold someone's hand when the time is needed, and where the last thing you want them doing is going, "Ugh, okay, take my hand and God, well, so I was having this thing with so and so, and you have this conversation over there, which gives no appearance of empathy or caringness for the person that you're talking to. So those kind of things you can't teach, but I can teach a skill. So it's
Exactly. And you do, I will have to say, and you mentioned it with Gen Z and with millennials, we've especially the
we've raised
younger.
monsters.
They exactly. But they've grown up in a digital world, and so they're very comfortable with all digital things, but they're not as comfortable sitting in front of someone,
Mhm.
having, a conversation. They're much more comfortable with being on their phone or some other device. And so that some of that you will have to say this is how we have to live. But some of it you have to look for the core of the person.
Mm,
Are they going to fill the core of the need that you have before you?
mm. Always a challenge. And I think it's going to be a challenge even more going forward, finding the right kind of people that we want on our team, right? Because if I'm thinking I'm hiring somebody and I want them to do something, but I also need them to think critically and have come to me with not just the problem, but the solution they think that would be there. I personally am looking to hire entrepreneurial kind of people because those kind of people are going to be thinking on their feet and how can I make this better and faster and in my case more profitable, right? For the company
Right.
as a whole. And I want to train and engage and grow these people to where they're going to want to leave me and go start their own company and walk off with skills and go, thanks, Marcia, you gave me the things I needed.
Right.
That's my kind of philosophy that I'd want. And I know not every company is the same, especially in the healthcare space. That's not necessarily the skill set you want, but I think as the leader, as the hirer of the company, you have to, like you mentioned, know what skill sets you're hiring for and what can be trained and what just needs to be a natural feeling that they have to have about themselves when you bring them on.
Well, and I also think some people, especially with experience, have been burned out there with poor leadership. And you have to earn. I always say, yes, I'm the boss and I pay your paycheck. So there is some level that you have to do what I tell you to do, but respect is earned.
Mm,
So no matter what they tell you, they're going to watch you. They're going to be in the workplace with you. They're going to see what what do you say after hours? What do you say early in the morning? What do you say and what do you do?
mm,
I always say, what do you see when you look at me? And what does that say to you as a person? And again, there's also expectations and those kind of things. But my goal has always been that you can walk away and say, that is the hardest place I've ever worked, and yet that was the best place I ever worked.
mm.
And that those two things combined, that's what you want. You want them to be challenged and not bored. You
Exactly.
want them, which is part of growth. Part of making a profit is to be challenged to be an entrepreneur within their own space.
Yeah.
Um, so wherever you are, 100 years ago, I worked as a short order cook when I was in high school. Did I know how to cook? No, but you know, my Mrs. Tuggle, which I'll say her name because she's gone to glory long ago, but she said, Marcelle, there's always something to do. There's always something to do. You can fill these napkin holders, you can fill the salt, you can chop onions, but the truth is, I was challenged there, which is what your goal should be as an employer or a leader. But I also enjoyed it. I had a sense of pride that I could exceed her expectations.
Mm.
So
Yes.
that's the bar for us, Marcia.
Well,
Can
yeah. So to be a
someone to do
good
that?
leader, right? Flows downward to
Mhm.
the employees. Like you said, they're watching and they're learning, and most people really truly want something that they could be proud of, right, in their role. Oh, I feel good about the work that I'm doing, especially the Gen X and the Ys that are out there now, the new generations. That's one of the common, not all, but the common um requests that they want, not necessarily the pay, right? The pay is important, but they also want to feel fulfilled, right?
Right.
And when you're the leader of that employee, that's what you want to be, is you want to give them the opportunity to grow for themselves, and then they enjoy their work more, and they feel
Right.
proud and excited about the work that they do, and then you get better work out of them. So yeah,
Right.
definitely
And
top down.
yeah, it's always top down from a leadership perspective to me.
Yeah.
But hopefully, as you said earlier, you're giving them tools because one day I'm going to be retired, maybe. I don't know. We'll see. But, you're giving them tools that will help them in the next job,
Yeah.
whatever that is.
Yeah. And
Tools that
in
they can
life, they may turn into an owner someday and go, wow, Marcylle taught me how to do this. I'd like to do that for mine. What a legacy you could leave that way.
Right.
Often.
Well,
Awesome.
that's the goal.
Yeah, for some of us. But this is awesome. Marcylle, you've been giving us so many really good ideas on thinking about the culture and the community and the right hiring people. And it is around hiring your friends, right? The people you enjoy working with. And so well, let me throw it back to you. Most of us are going to want to know more about this because we're just scratching the surface of this concept of hiring your friends. So, where can listeners find out more about you and your book?
Well, if you can spell my name, then you can find me. So it's
It's in the show
Marcel.
notes. It'll be there.
That's right, in the show notes, marcellecombs.com, really easy. My name's not s my parents were very creative. I'm also on Instagram under Marcelle Combs and on LinkedIn under Marcelle Combs. So if you get to any of those spots, you can find a link. I'm on Amazon too, with the book Never Hire Your Friends with the never crossed out, and it's pretty easy and straightforward.
Great. I think this is something that all leaders should look at when they're building their team around them, because like I said in the beginning, you can't do this alone. So if you're bringing people on, why not bring on people that you enjoy being around, that are going to be helpful and engaging to help you achieve the goal that you ultimately want with your company. And this is a perfect way of doing that. Okay, so is the book an easy read? Is it a long read? You mentioned that you tell a lot of stories in it, right?
It's an easy read. It's very straightforward. I'm kind of a how-to person,
Good.
so it won't take you very long to get through it. But I think it has some nuggets for everyone if you want to be a better leader and you want to have a great, successful business.
I love it. All right. All right, listeners, thanks for tuning in today. I hope you've picked up some valuable insight and actionable ideas that will help you make your business more profitable. And I know that the hiring the people is your number one expense, as well as your number one asset for your company. It's not your product, although the product is what they deliver, it's the people. So I would encourage you to invest your time, a little bit of money, buy her book, figure out how to hire the people that everybody's going to enjoy to work with. I know that you will definitely get your money's worth and time's worth by investing in that. All right, if you're tired of that overpriced marketing and that complicated and time-consuming marketing, the Profit Booster Marketing Hub is your low-cost, easy-to-use alternative to expensive strategies. It comes complete with automation, templates, and a personalized strategy call. Go get more details at profitbooster.biz. And don't forget to subscribe. You don't want to miss future shows. You can always find Profit with a Plan on your favorite podcast platforms. We're looking forward to more great profitable strategies on next week's show. So until then, make your plans and profit with them. Thanks, Marcelle.
Thank you.